goodness.
Get this show on the road.
I will say, like, in regards to Fargo, like, the opening, I was kind of, like, caught off guard when I was like, you know, I fucking like this. Can I get a blanket?
Yes, the first season has a much more straightforward opening, but the second season is where they really start to cut loose.
Yeah, and I'm like, I love this.
When you've got Jimmy Carter's malaise speech playing over the opening titles,
yes,
you know you've got something good going.
Like the editing in that episode is just so weird and wonderful. I will be coming back to that.
Oh, good. I adore the television program Fargo. And the movie Fargo.
Well, of course. I mean, like, the movie Fargo is just a masterpiece. I'd argue, I think it might be one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies.
Oh, it definitely is for me. I mean, if I'm picking one to watch, I'll usually go with Big Lebowski, just because
that's the crowd pleaser.
Such a rollicking good time, but Fargo is one that I will always gladly enjoy.
I mean, there's an argument that Big Lebowski is one of the funniest movies of all time. So.
I'd agree with that. All right,
goodness.
Here we go, boys. Welcome back to the Hack Fraud Show. We got two people in the same room for once.
For once.
I don't know
how long this will last.
I don't know how long it's been since we did. How long has it been since we had everybody in the room at once?
Oh, Christmas at least.
Was it even at Christmas? Because I
think it was. It might have been since we'd done Paul Thomas Anderson.
Shit, I think you might be right.
Were we all in the room for that? For some vague reason, I remember Reed being over video call.
Maybe
that was
Warner
Reed was there.
Too.
Well, there was the weird bit where Reed isolated himself from Warner.
Oh, that's right.
Because of his opinion on Boogie fucking Nights.
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's fine because Warner was just wrong. But I'm kidding, of course.
He's not listening. We can say what we want.
Ooh. Anyway. So, this week, we are continuing our Scorsese / Hitchcock series.
This amalgam from hell.
Yeah, well, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
We might as well call it Part 2, because we're celebrating the French today. They did a good job.
Yes. Vivre la France.
Vive
la France!
They're smarter than us.
Yes, but we already knew that.
Well, did we know?
We hoped.
We
now
I knew. Sure. I've studied their healthcare system. They got better things going on.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. All right. So this week we've got the King of Comedy and Foreign Correspondent. That will be our main feature. One real Reed only watched the Scorsese movie again.
I mean, he got, like, if we were to do, like, this single Scorsese episode, he would have watched both movies. So I think he has some credit here.
Yeah, we'll stick with that. But first, guys, I know we've got a lot of stuff to talk about in this department, so what have we been watching?
Reed, what have you been watching?
The world not blowing up.
Well, yes.
That's constantly on my radar as well.
Yes.
Okay, and that's about it, unfortunately.
Okay.
What about Doctor Who?
No, I haven't. No, I've not.
You've not continued. Well, John, I know you watched an episode of Doctor Who. Oh, this is going to be fun to talk about.
Okay. I watched, because, like, the way you were describing it, you made this seem like mind-bendy, worlds within worlds, Twilight Zone, but with a single character.
Sure.
And, like, that sounded awesome to me, and I'd recommend, like, what's the most like that of the series? And you recommended me an episode called The Girl in the Fireplace.
Okay, that may not have been the most mind-bending. That's just one of my favorite episodes, and it's got a pretty cool kind of Twilight Zone,
especially the ending.
Yeah. I don't know. The premise of this episode is basically the Doctor and his companions stumble upon an abandoned ship in space, and it has fireplace time portals to periods in the life of Madame de Pompadour, the mistress of Louis the 14th?
Oh, God, I don't know.
The mistress of one of the Louis.
I will assume it is the 14th, because they go to the Versailles and so forth.
The mistress of one of the Louis. Anyway, and the Doctor has multiple interactions with her while the companions just kind of bumble around.
Bumble about. Okay. what do I think of this? Let's start with the good. Because I think there is quite a few. Like, some of, like, the quasi-steampunk, like, clock people they see, those are really cool.
Yes.
That's, like, a really great design. I think, like, the idea of, like, this fireplace and how, like, there's, like, always, like, this time oscillation between the two, where it's, like, you spend it's like the quantum mechanics thing where you spend time in one and, like, and the other is going faster. So, like, you get moments of, like, he just steps out for a moment, goes back, and she's dead.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. The ending is honestly kind of wonderful, where it's like he is like this man without time. He's constantly breaking rules and going to different eras, yet like the very basic thing of time passing and mortality.
Yeah.
He can't do anything about it. He is powerless, and he can only just look at, and there's like the great image of like the carriage going away from Versailles.
Right.
As like you just have that monologue. And Tennant's just looking there, dead-eyed, out the window.
Yeah.
Great moment. Other than that, the acting, man. This is what it's all gonna come back to, is the acting.
Oh.
Because what the fuck is Tennant doing for half of it? What the fuck is Tennant doing? Who are the cum dumpsters who keep running around besides him?
Did you just call them cum dumpsters?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
More credits.
I will agree that Billy Piper and the other guy, Noel Clark, I think is his name, they're not the greatest actors.
No.
I mean, I like David Tennant. He can be kind of and they all can reach a point where they start to just kind of start mugging to the camera a little bit too much.
And there's like, and he has his moments. Like the ending is great. That's a great piece of acting from him. But everything else, I'm like, you're not funny. I think that's just my main point here is I just don't find it very funny.
Okay.
Like I'm not on board with its like brand. It's like very nerdy, nebbishy brand of humor.
Yeah.
Where it seems to be like we're saying exposition and it's funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? This is a joke?
Okay. I mean, if the show's sense of humor doesn't work for you, then I guess you're just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, this episode is written by Stephen Moffat, who took over as head writer when Matt Smith took over as the Doctor. And let me tell you, if the humor doesn't work for you now, it's not going to work for you later.
Yeah, it's a sort of, I think that's just where I'm at, in that, like, I don't, and, like, there's, like, some beautiful, wonderful ideas in it, but, like, and I don't want to say, like, this is an issue, because it is an issue of budget, because, like, I think the show cannot establish a consistent visual style.
Yeah, that is true.
Because, like, you have, like, this wonderful Taurus, beautiful set, beautiful design. The outside is like this iconic thing you see on bumper stickers everywhere. Wonderful. Some of the clock things, those are great. But, like, it's all clashing with this awful, blocky, like, ship they're on. And, like, because they're, like, and of course, like, you see, like, the next episode, and it's, like, the shitty CGI Zeppelins juxtaposed with modern London. And I'm like, this just doesn't look good.
Okay, that element does get better. This was probably a coincidence, although maybe it wasn't. Once Moffat took over, like, I think if the budget didn't get bigger, then they got much better at utilizing the budget, because it just looks way better. They did start to develop a more consistent visual style.
Okay.
The CGI gets somewhat better.
I mean, like, I kind of went with the CGI after a while. To me, it was just, the main issue was just a clash of like, visual styles, because it doesn't, it's not ray gun gothic, it's not steampunk, it's not really, it's not cyberpunk, it's kind of like this, it's kind of all things at the same time, which ultimately just leads to nothing. Like, well, to go back to Star Trek, like, as much as, like, they use, like, the backlots all the time, there's, like, a consistent, like, retina blinding technicolor to everything.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the features of this show is that it can shift between styles pretty easily,
and I see
episode to episode.
And I see, like, there is certainly advantages to that.
Yeah, there's an episode where they go back to, like, 30s Manhattan, and it's all done kind of like a noir a little bit. There's an episode where God, I'm trying to. Some of them are like very bland, and I will grant you that. If you just, it really all comes down to the script and the concept of the story.
Oh, certainly.
If you don't have something good going there, then oh God, I just thought of an episode. You know, God, I don't know what you would think of this episode because it's very heavy on like plot stuff and like the mythology of the show.
I'm still open. I'm not like, no, this fucking show.
Yeah, well, just because like this particular episode got a great stupid concept. The title of the episode is "Let's Kill Hitler."
So this is the classic. Go back in time and kill baby Hitler.
Not baby Hitler, but
adult Hitler.
But that episode's got a lot of good ideas going, but it's also just very heavy on like mythology elements of the show, which you probably would not appreciate. But I guess I see where you're coming from. Again, like if the humor doesn't work for you, that's just nothing can be done about that.
Yeah, it's just a case. I don't see jokes. I just see like that's just some awkward exposition he's saying. Like that was just like where I was at for most of it, and so like and when you're not on board with that, I'm saying things like, "Hey, there's a portal to 18th century France using a fireplace. This is fucking stupid," and and no one should be ever saying that in a sci-fi show.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not close to it. I am skeptical, to say the least.
I'll try and think of some more episodes that would be good. I mean, we showed you the 11th Hour. That's one of the all-time greats, in my opinion.
That kind of felt like a similar with that. Just sort of like great ideas here and there, some like wonderful designs here and there, but like it's the clashing of designs, sort of like the acting, the sense of humor.
I might recommend the 50th anniversary special, which is really built for fans of the show, but that really like gives you a glimpse into kind of who the Doctor is as a character.
Okay.
Tennant and Matt Smith are both in that. You also have John Hurt as another version of the Doctor. That is some of the most transcendent television I have ever seen in my life.
Maybe that's a sound to me like the time bendy aspect of this seems to be the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
And like that's something I'd be curious to see going forward. Honestly, I might look at some of the older episodes.
By all means. I think that seems like something I have not watched really any of the older Doctor Who serials. That seems like something that might appeal to you.
Yeah, something like, especially with my love of old Star Trek.
Seeing as I can't even watch like some of the older Bond movies, sometimes I don't know if it would appeal to me.
Well, the older Bond stuff is just ragingly misogynist in a really distracting way, so I can't even get through those.
Well, it's kind of a different thing. I don't know. I also don't love original series Star Trek as much as you do. I certainly can appreciate it.
Oh, I get it. Like, I get, like, if you just... if you're not on board at a certain level, you're gone with that show. I guess it just comes down to, like, DeForest Kelley, William Shatner, and Leonard Nimoy are just really fucking charismatic people.
Yeah.
And to have them say things like warp speed is really fucking funny. I guess that's just my stipulation with that.
All right. Well, that's closing the book on Doctor Who for another week.
Oh, for now. We're going to come back to this.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
And Warner will crucify us.
But we'll see. John, what else did you watch?
What else did I watch? Well, I watched this is weird because, like, I probably shouldn't have done this, but, like, for how much you talk about this particular season, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to get on the ground floor of this specifically.
Yes.
So I watched the first episode of Season 2 of Fargo.
That's totally fine. You could jump right in at the second season and not really miss anything. I mean, the first season is great. But it's an anthology series. There are like connections that will come in, but you don't have to understand those to understand.
Yeah, I wanted to get hooked more than anything with this. The show begins with like it's like black and white footage. It starts with kind of like the pseudos or like 30s big blockbuster where you pan across the field of dead bodies. And then it just stops on, like, the Indian character.
Yeah.
But then, like, somebody yells cut, and, like, the director wanders on, and they just start talking, but it's still in the style of that.
Yeah.
And I just go, like, oh, I'm gonna like this
And
show.
the concept of this scene is they're waiting for Ronald Reagan
Yes.
to come out of his dressing room. It is one of the most audaciously brilliant openings to an episode and season of television I've ever seen.
Yeah, oh yeah, that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna love this show. And also, like, the atmosphere you can cut with a fucking knife
absolutely.
in this series.
Absolutely.
The sound, the sound design just sort of envelops you,
Yeah.
and like it's almost like when you get like those like virtual haircuts where you like you hear things going on. It's kind of like that same environment. You're like it's somewhat surreal, but also kind of like it really brings you into this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling to talk about this because like it's really multi-layered and like the visuals are fucking incredible.
The first season is a pretty like straightforward kind of adaptation of like the feel and style of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Done very, very well. Season 2 is where Noah Hawley starts to like indulge his more kind of artsy and like David Lynchian influences.
Yeah, and I love it.
And instincts, and those would come to like full fruition in the first season of Legion.
Yes.
But they're placed very well in Fargo season 2.
Yeah, that they like it's this world, like this city. It's Fargo, right? That's exactly where this is.
Actually, no.
Is that right? Because like the movie does jumping, and I'm curious.
Parts of it are. I want to say the Gerhardts, the crime family, are based in Fargo. There's a lot of talk in the show about like the organized crime kind of based out of Fargo. Most of the main action takes place in Minnesota. I think season 2 is set in not Bemidji. Season 1 is Bemidji. I can't remember. It's somewhere in Minnesota.
It's somewhere in Minnesota, but it feels like this. It's like a weird fantasy vision of the 70s. It's not really realistic. Like everything's really clean and contrasty, and lots of high exposure lighting.
Yeah,
and it's like it's a world unto itself. And I don't care if this doesn't feel like real Minnesota. I just love being in this world.
Yeah, it's great. I hope you will continue with this because. I've said it before, I'll say it again, Season 2 of Fargo is one of my favorite things ever made, and I might be overselling it, I hope I'm not, but...
You know, like, this scene... I remember just thinking, like, it's like, alright, fucking Fargo Season 2, let's bring... God damn it, he's right.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so...
And there was one other thing I was going to say about it. Hold on to your hat, because Mr. Reagan is going to show up.
Ooh, I am in for a good time.
It's great.
Oh, goodness.
Anything else?
I think...
Don't you want to talk about Aladdin?
Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! I have to talk about this. Okay, Aladdin.
Disney's Aladdin, 1992. One of my favorite Disney movies. John finally decided to watch it this week. You had never seen it before.
No, I'd never seen it. Of course, like you catch like the periphery of it is everywhere. But like I never just gone back to see the original. Yeah, my history with Disney is sometimes flaky, so it's... Okay, it's in, like, this takes place in some, like, pseudo, I think Doug Walker describes it as Arabia meets Las Vegas.
Yes, that is very accurate.
Meets Las Vegas, and it's kind of gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's just really, like...
Maybe disrespectful, but still gorgeous.
Yeah, disrespectful. There was kind of, like, some 90s, like, here, like, pre-9/11 view of Arabia that's really interesting about it. Especially in that, like, the cold open with, like, the hustler.
Okay, yes. So in this movie, Robin Williams, of course, plays the genie. He also plays this, like, peddler character that introduces the story.
Yes.
Maybe not particularly PC, but, man, I think I could quote that opening monologue verbatim. I love it. It puts me on the floor.
Yeah, I think I was mostly just going, oh no. I just had like flashback, like this is what we think of Muslims. Oh goodness, but regardless, like it looks gorgeous, so I'll push that all aside. Yeah. Like it's actually like a really gorgeous, and it like doesn't mock Islam. It's like really it just happens. These characters are Islamic. This Islamic world. There's nothing disrespectful there.
The Sultan says praise Allah.
Exactly.
That's fine.
That's it. Yeah. So. Okay, we have Aladdin, who is a street rat, who has a great opening song where he's stealing things and running away from the not really police, more like guard of the Sultan.
Yeah.
Then there's all that adventures. There's Jafar, who's trying to get this lamp with a magical genie in it, and who will give him unbelievable powers. There's Jasmine, a bitch who wants to get out of her palace.
Wow! Coming in hard on Princess Jasmine. Okay, let me rephrase that. Coming in strong on Princess Jasmine.
Okay, like, well, there's like some early like '90s like Disney feminism in this, in regards to like I want to choose my destiny.
Yes.
And so the problem is, because she's a fucking princess, I'm like, you have all the power in the world! What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you running away?
Well, the whole, like, kind of inciting incident of this movie is that, like, Jasmine wants to get out of the palace.
Yeah.
And she complains about feeling trapped, which maybe now in 2017, especially given the current political climate, does not play as well as it used to.
No, and I'm just sort of like Aladdin, I buy, like, he's a street man, like, he's starting from the bottom, I get him, but they say, like, they both say in unison, trapped, and I'm like, oh, fuck you!
I mean, yes, it's a bit of a, kind of a, I don't want to say first world problems, but,
yes.
An upper class problem.
An aristocracy problem.
Sure, we'll go with that one. I don't know, but, you know, can we just talk about Robin Williams as the genie? Just fucking awesome. Yeah.
Magical Robin Williams. That's
yes.
Because that's like I find I'm kind of torn at this movie because I really like the periphery of it. Like, I love this Vision of Arabia. I love like the designs, like the animation is gorgeous, like the lighting is wonderful. I love like some of like the pop culture-y like jokes they put in there. Like Robin Williams is fucking incredible.
Robin Williams does a Jack Nicholson impression.
Yes. Now here's the deal, Sparky. and that's just wonderful. There's like the songs. It's Alan Menken. I still have these in my head.
Prince Ali. I think it's my favorite Disney song ever. Yeah. And the Genie song, Friend Like Me, is like a close second.
Oh yeah, I love that one. But like, just like the story of it, it's other than like there's some like neat stuff of Aladdin, it's like Rags and Riches story, which is kind of something you actually don't see that often. Is Disney, which is kind of weird to me, considering like they're like this ambassador of American culture, and we love the Rags and Riches story.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of like every princess Disney thing under the sea, beneath like it's kind of like wonderful facade.
I just kind of disagree because it focuses on a male protagonist.
It does,
and who, you know, his arc is very clear, which is, you know, he wants to, you know, be rich and get away from this just troubled lifestyle, and he, you know, kind of figures out like he has to stop like pretending to be something.
Yeah, there's some things about facades in this.
Yeah, and I love that, and I don't know, man, I love it. It might be my favorite Disney movie, and yeah, if it doesn't work for you, I mean, that's fine, but I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to, like, I'd imagine, like, if this was, like, my first experience with, like, the Disney princess movie, I'd be really on board. I'm like, man, let's go with this. But now, like, we're all experts on the Disney princess movie because we've seen, like, 18 of them.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm kind of thinking, like, I like your facades. I guess this is where I am with Disney in general. And a lot of, the older animated movies, I'm like, yeah, I love the visual style. I love some of the writing. I love the songs. But, man, this like plot you've put it on, I've seen like a billion times, and I kind of go in like to a weird state with Disney now. I'm like, yeah, I love some things, but other things I don't give a fuck. And I think I can't quite blame Aladdin for that because like it came out of the Disney machinery.
Yeah, I mean it's the Disney formula perfected. I think it's not super revolutionary, although parts of it are. I mean, like. Robin Williams, like, the genie and the pop culture references would reap, like, horrific non-benefits, because every animated movie started doing that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Here it works 100%.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to blame the movie for the trends it started, but, like, I don't know, I think, like, Beauty and the Beast does, like, the Disney princess formula in a way that feels far more organic.
Okay, that's fair.
That's where I guess, like, this feels too I'm going to get into this later when we talk about Hitchcock, but it just feels too artificial for me. And it just feels too, like, constructed. I'm like, yeah, I see what you're doing here, but I'm not really on board.
All right, I can understand that. I just kind of prefer the kind of exuberance and kind of madcapness of Aladdin
Certainly.
over the like kind of stateliness of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Even though I think Beauty and the Beast is like a perfect movie.
Well, I'm an autocratic fuck, so that's where I lie. I like stateliness. But regardless, I think is it time for.
Well, I just have one thing I want to. We could talk about Guardians 2, but I think I'll wait until Reed has seen that to.
Yes, thank you.
Bring that out. I will say I think
I've heard decent things. I've heard that it's not as good, but that makes it good.
It's very different. I will say that.
I think this is better than the first one.
Okay.
I think I've come around to that. Like, it just like you can say some things like you can argue that like the first one's more watchable, but I think this one is just a more complete cinematic experience.
Sure, and I'd probably agree with you. I don't know. We both give it a thumbs up, but we will wait to discuss that.
It's just right now. It's way too good to have the Marvel name on it. We'll just say that.
All right. And then I just watched one other thing. I watched, finally, I got around to seeing another Mad Max movie. I watched 1981's The Road Warrior, the second Mad Max film. And it is very good. It cannot help but pale in comparison to Fury Road. Yeah. And that's not its fault. This movie, the Road Warrior, cost $4 million. Fury Road cost $150 million. And Fury Road was one of the rare instances where having more money just let the filmmaker be more creative in every direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember, like, Red Letter Media said, like, no, I don't want to go watch the old ones now. They're going to feel old and slow.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it feels slow, because this movie is tight. It is a tight 96 minutes. Oh. I was surprised by kind of how fast it is. It's very good. There's a great character in it, the gyro captain who flies like a gyrocopter and has a pet snake. That's the kind of movie this is. The design of it is all great. There's some weird kind of like BDSM kind of stuff in there.
Oh, well, you got leather and motorcycles. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know. Mel Gibson is very good as Mad Max. He might be a better Mad Max than Tom Hardy, but I completely understand why they couldn't bring him back for Fury Road.
Well, no shit.
But he gives a very good performance. The visuals of it are great. George, seeing this movie, like, seeing what George Miller could do with $4 million, which really is not that much money in movie terms, like, seeing that, you can totally see, like, how he could pull off something as just unbelievable as Fury Road with all the money he could ever want. Yeah,
it's something. Whereas I'm actually really curious about Thunderdome, because like I don't really want to go back and do the Road Warrior, because like from what I hear, it's kind of like it's Fury Road Part 1, and from where I hear, Thunderdome is just batshit crazy and all over the place, and that just seems more interesting to me now.
I won't say the Road Warrior like isn't worth watching, because I would never want to say that about a movie that's so bursting with creativity. It just, in hindsight, it looks lesser than I'm sure it did at the time. Just because he just surpassed it in every way conceivable.
Yeah, I mean, it is something. I guess I can't quite put my finger on it, but like Fury Road is such a masterpiece. Yeah. And like it is like, I think these people say like you could frame every single part of that movie.
Yes.
And like and like the dirty 70s Road Warrior just can never match up to that.
Yeah, it's sad but true, and it's just, I mean, I wouldn't dismiss it. I'm also curious about Thunderdome. I mean, I've heard it's not as good, but I would imagine, like I was saying, I think I told you this, like A Mess from George Miller must be more compelling than the best movie from some other directors.
I mean, without a doubt, like. I love interesting messes. That if anything, that might be my favorite kind of movie.
So that's the Road Warrior, but let's get to the main event.
Oh boy!
What do we want to talk about first?
Well, I think it's time for Reed to speak. So, are we ready for Scorsese's The King of Comedy?
Shall we?
Yes.
Although who died and made him king? Because no one really died. So.
It's true.
So, fuck that bitch.
All right, so this movie stars Robert De Niro right in the thick of his partnership with Scorsese as Rupert Pupkin.
Yes.
The often mispronounced.
Or Rupert Pumpkin, or Pipkin, or...
Yes. Popkin, or whatever.
Popkin, and
million
the list
others.
goes on.
A million other mispronunciations.
Who styles himself as the king of comedy.
The new king of comedy. So, yes, De Niro as Rupert Pupkin. He is kind of obsessed with this comedian named Jerry Langford, played by Jerry Lewis.
Yes, which is
who
great.
is like some version of Johnny Carson, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was watching it, I was like...
Yeah,
like,
what kind of show is this supposed to be?
The movie starts with him just getting mobbed by crazy fans, and I'm like, who is this big a fan of a late-night talk show host? And I guess Carson must have been that big in his heyday.
Yeah,
I imagine...
I don't
really know.
I mean, well, there is kind of like a satirical element to it so far as where it's kind of like this, like it's like this fantasy vision of New York, where it's like even like minor celebrities, like a late night show host, it's just getting mobbed with fans and mobbed and just getting people who are just obsessed with him. Yeah.
So Rupert kind of corners Jerry and like forms what he thinks is some kind of weird friendship with him. He spends, like, the entire first half of the movie is just kind of Rupert's, like, fantasy sequences of being friends with Jerry, interspersed with his, like, really pathetic attempts to get his material to the show's producers.
Mm-hmm. And, like, his own, like, fantasies, and we cut from the fantasies to him in his mother's basement. Yeah. With, like, the classic, "What are you doing, quiet it down!"
That's all great. Apparently, Scorsese's own mother was the voice.
That's wonderful.
Which is wonderful. I love Scorsese's mother.
Of course.
You know, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I did feel like the first hour or so of this movie was kind of Scorsese dribbling a little bit.
I think that's exactly where I'm at. I don't know. To me, like, I was thinking, like, there was, like, a very clear delineation between, like, fantasy and reality in the first half. And I think, like, what, like, an interesting movie would it be if we were really inside his head and we couldn't quite tell what was fantasy and what was reality? Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it feels like a kind of a lighter version of Taxi Driver for the first half. Then you hit the middle of the movie, and there's this great sequence where, as you say, like, reality and fantasy have been, like, pretty clearly delineated.
Yeah.
Then you get to a scene where you think it's a fantasy, because everything about it suggests that it is, based on what you've seen before. Yeah. Then, very gradually, you figure out, oh, this isn't a fantasy, this is real. And he goes with this girl named, I think, Rita, that he's kind of tried to flirt with. He brings her to Jerry's, like, mansion out in the country. They show up unexpectedly, like the kind of house servants are like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, Jerry, we wanted to call the cops, but like, we don't know.
Jerry comes back and he's like, what the fuck? And he like yells at it, and it all hits you and you're like, oh no. And then it just spirals into this glorious second half where Rupert and another, like, insane fan.
Who was the insane fan from the beginning of the movie?
Yes. I forget. Masha, I think, is her name.
Yeah.
Masha, yes.
They kidnap Jerry and force the producers to give Rupert a spot on the show. And that is such a brilliantly constructed, like, hour of film.
Yeah, like, the ending of this movie is some of Scorsese's finest.
Yes, I completely agree.
I think, like the fucking ending where it's like he actually gets on the air, goes to prison, gets out, and becomes a celebrity just by the act of what he's done.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, though?
Yes.
What?
Is that last part fantasy or is it real?
That's a good point. Know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Much like Taxi Driver, it kind of leaves it up to the audience whether what you're seeing is really real or not.
And sort of like this, and then you have, like, Masha with, like, her surreal sexual fantasies with Jerry.
That is so strange. It cuts. I liked it. It's
so weird.
It's so, like, uncomfortable and kind of off-putting, but also, like, you're laughing. At least I was.
This is pitch black comedy.
Pitch black comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, you cut back and forth from Rupert at the show's kind of studio to Masha trying to seduce Jerry.
I think one of the funniest things in the movie where it's like she untapes him to do sexual things to him. He gets up, like grabs the gun on the table, shoots her, realizes it's a fake gun, and Jerry Lewis has just such a great look on his face.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe the first half of the movie goes on just a little too long. It's very good scene setting. It's maybe just a little bit too much scene setting.
Yes.
But when you get the payoff, it's great.
It's sort of things like you're like, yeah, I see where we're going here. Yeah, he's pathetic. I don't need all of this.
Right. But I don't know. The ending, like I say, the second half of this movie is really firing on all cylinders.
Oh, certainly.
Some of Scorsese's best work. Reed, do you have anything you would like to add?
Well, I like their staging of the discount Seagram building, as it looked like with that giant plaza there. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I understood
This is another great New
sort
York
of
movie, of course.
Manhattan thing. Also, Times Square was interesting to take a look at. That was probably one of the more strange bits of New York. Because it's like more classic.
Well, that's like it is so strange like watching these older Scorsese movies because like we have like such this image of glitzy, glamorous New York as like the post-Giuliani days, and like to see it in like all its gritty, grimy 70s, 80s veneer, it's just really fascinating, especially when shot by Scorsese.
Yeah. And also, the production design of this movie is kind of incredible. Like, that the office, like the reception area of Jerry's office where he waits, he spends like large chunks of the movie. That in his like garish like bedroom where he has all those like cardboard cutouts
and then like there's that massive like fake crowd. And they
incredible!
The tunnel.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's realistic, but I don't think it's meant to be.
No,
it's a weirdly kind of surreal. It almost suggests After Hours a little bit.
You're right. Yeah, that's
just in how kind of borderline surrealist it is.
Yeah, that's kind of like the same mode of filmmaking we're in here, and it's wonderful. Like I love this world.
I enjoyed this movie a lot. De Niro, of course, is in great form.
Yeah,
this is before he just started phoning it in for every performance that isn't in a David O. Russell movie.
Yeah. Well, you get that at a certain point.
All the like peripheral elements of this movie are great. Like the costume design, his Rupert's like
his awful
garish suits are incredible. I love that you don't like see him actually doing his routine until the end of the movie.
And like that like just sad routine at the end.
I mean, it is funny.
Oh yeah, that's the great thing. You just understand, like, oh shit, these aren't jokes.
Yeah. Also, I love that like anytime they show clips from the show, it's shot in like on like the kind of videotape format of the 80s talk shows,
which kind of helps that like delineation between fantasy and not. Yeah, just like a wonderful, surreal movie.
Yeah, I think what we found is that like 80s Scorsese like that was kind of his like more experimental period, and he did some very interesting stuff.
I think that's kind of like that was after like Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, and it's like Scorsese, the filmmaker of a generation. He said, you know what, I'm just gonna cut loose.
Yeah.
And like the movies he made are just like these surrealist masterpieces, and
I mean, I didn't love Silence, so I'm a little wary of this movie, but I would definitely be interested in seeing The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah, Last Temptation of Christ is like his first crack at like his passion project.
Yeah.
And I'm curious,
no
like...
No pun intended.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry, I had to.
I know. And like to see like this form of Scorsese go into that instead of like the cinema of excess Wolf of Wall Street Scorsese doing that this recent passion project. Yeah. I'm curious what we come out of this. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to hit out Last Temptation of Christ at some point.
I'd definitely be up for that. Reed, any closing thoughts on this movie?
I think this is probably the best Robert De Niro performance I've seen. I think he did a better job of this than in Mean Streets, which is the other Martin Scorsese movie I've seen, other than Silence and then what we saw last week.
Well, Mean Streets is kind of Babby De Niro, and that's fascinating.
It is, yeah. I don't know. I don't think I was too crazy about Masha, mainly because at one point it's like, why is she here? Why is she here?
There is like some weird are they punching up or punching down comedy, and there's are we supposed to be sympathetic or are we mocking them? And that's some murky territory it gets into.
Yeah. I know. One thing I've always admired about Scorsese, though, is that he can kind of have it both ways with stuff like that.
In this movie, he does.
Yeah, which I kind of appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't bother me too much, but I can certainly understand the concern there. I did feel that a little bit, are we just kind of making fun of the mentally ill here?
Yeah,
that plays a little strangely, but I don't know. The other thing is that I think you really do feel the tragic element of it, which saves it from being just a horrifying, outdated vision of mental illness.
I think one of the great images of the movie is him in front of the cardboard crowd, and that laugh track just overshadows his monologue as the camera pans out. I think that's the thesis statement of the movie, to be honest.
Yeah. So King of Comedy.
Fucking fascinating.
Not his greatest movie, but definitely fascinating.
Yeah, I think I've kind of stopped saying oh, what's the best Scorsese movie at this point, because I think it's kind of looking at phases of Picasso and and ranking them against each other is kind of just arbitrary.
That's a great comparison, actually. Yeah, you're totally right. We're in the blue period.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and they're all wonderful. I think there is something to say about comparing them to each other and see how he evolves within this period, but sort of saying how this compares to Goodfellas is such a mute conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
But so guys, are we ready to do another investigation?
All right. So
no, one real read.
One real read.
One real read.
Did not watch the other movie for this week.
I hope that doesn't become a pejorative for you at some point.
No, it's very affectionate. So we also watched 1940s Foreign Correspondent, directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
So, this movie, I think, is a bunch of very interesting, compelling, entertaining parts that, as a whole, form a movie that I didn't like very much.
I'm kind of with that.
There's a lot of it. I finished the movie, I was I'm not really sure I liked that much. But as I thought about it, there are a lot of very interesting parts and components to it. I think. So basically, the basic conceit of this movie is Joel McCrea, I think is the actor's name, plays Johnny Jones, alias God, what do they call him? Something.
It's H. That you see them painting H. It's a similar Britishy name with with all H's.
Huntley Haverstock.
Yes, that's
it.
Name.
Okay, Huntley Haverstock. His boss at the New York Globe sends him overseas to kind of cover the impending war. So this is another movie kind of on the brink of World War II, which is very interesting. This was one of Hitchcock's first movies that he made after coming to Hollywood. He made this the same year that he made Rebecca, which went on to win Best Picture.
Yep.
And this movie...
This proves itself to be a propaganda picture at the end.
Oh, well, yes. This movie ends with a choir singing the Star Spangled Banner as the credits roll over a giant bald eagle statue.
Yes, a marble eagle.
Which is just terrible and not at all in keeping with the rest of the movie.
No. But I hate it.
That's fine, I guess. This was kind of made in the middle of U.S. kind of isolation.
I don't think we need to apologize for literal war propaganda. I think it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, so he goes overseas to kind of look into this Dutch figure named Van Meer, who is associated with a kind of a universal peace conference run by a guy named Stanley Fisher. Haverstock falls in love with his daughter, Carol Fisher. Okay. So
there's a lot of shit in this movie.
let me just say, you mean a lot of shit, like a lot of bad stuff, or just a lot of stuff?
A lot of stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
yes, I agree. Well,
if I were to say a lot of bad shit, I would just say a lot of fucking shit.
Yeah, well, I reached a point in this movie where I was like, I looked at the running time, I was like, how the fuck is there an hour left in this movie? What is going on? And, but whatever.
That's where I was.
Anyway, so I think one of the things you get at with like classical Hollywood movies is you always kind of go into them realizing that like the leads are going to end up together. And this is really an example of that not working.
Yeah, like, these people have no chemistry.
Not having aged well. There's no chemistry. It's not like set up at all.
No.
Like they're on a boat going back to England and they're sitting on the deck and he's just like, I love you and I want to marry you.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
And then she's like, well, I love you. And I'm like, what? Why? You don't even know this guy.
There is nothing even remotely romantic about this.
It's just that is.
And then like there's like
terrible.
some bullshit sort of like misunderstanding.
Yes, there's
in
like
there.
a sitcom misunderstanding that results in
Nothing.
Carol like bungling their plan to like, because her dad like turns out to be a traitor. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck?
Haverstock and another reporter, British reporter named Folliott, played by a delightful George Sanders.
Oh, yeah, yes.
That's one part of the movie that really worked for me. I think he's great.
I will say this is that like
Anyway,
this,
but
like
sorry. Carol just bungles their plan to catch her
Yes.
dad because she's had a misunderstanding and thinks Haverstock doesn't love her anymore. That's just terrible. It's just awful.
Yeah, there was like a bit of a casual misogyny that underlies this movie, especially in this like a woman comes in with a gun and like somebody takes away and say like women can't shoot straight. I'm like, oh.
But what were you going to say?
What was I going to say? I will say, like, this mode of Hitchcock, there was a lot more, like, dry British wit to it than, like, his later stuff, and I have to say that makes a world of difference in regards to entertainment.
Hitchcock can be fun!
Yes, and can be funny!
I mean, I will say this, I do not blame Hitchcock, really, for the problems I have with this movie.
Plot-wise, no.
Because, actually, the set pieces in this movie are, like, very well staged, pretty well shot.
I'm going to say, like, the plane coming down?
Yeah.
Fucking masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely.
Fucking masterpiece.
There's a sequence toward the end where, like, a plane crashes in the ocean. That's all great. That's done very well. That sequence where he's kind of, like, creeping along the ledge of the Hotel Europe.
Yes.
With like the giant neon sign.
Yeah, that giant like model shot.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most of the issues of this movie come with the screenplay. I think
it does have like this hilarious view of Holland in it. Like everything is bicyclists and windmills.
Yes. Yes. That I do love that. But overall, I mean, like I say, a lot of interesting stuff in this movie.
Yes.
Just a lot of stuff in this movie, period. Yeah. They just pack this movie to the brim.
Like, there is like a point in this movie where like they have, what's the Dutch? Van Meer. They have him in the bed and they're pounding him with lights.
Yes.
And like it's like this weird like noirish setup where you have like the shadows are extended against the walls and like there's a couple of shots where all the people are kind of staring at Van Meer.
Yes.
And in complete like shadows. Yes. And like wow, what like a arresting image. And he goes on like this like man of war speech.
Yeah.
That's like really like man, what an interesting movie that's buried in here.
But no, we have to get back to the further romantic escapades of Huntley Haverstock. Parts of this movie work better than others. Mm-hmm. That's just clear. There was some. You're right. There was some like fascinating Europe at war aspects to it. Yeah. Like you reach a point in this movie, they're like, the war has begun. We're at war.
Yeah, and you're like, oh shit.
They're flying to the United States, and their plane gets shot down by a German destroyer because like. They thought it was like
a bomber.
That's all great stuff.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
This movie just does not cohese. It doesn't, which is definitely not a word, but we're sticking to it. It does not come together.
The Vidiot's invented it. Of course it's a word.
It does not come together as a whole in a way that some movies do, that like great movies do. there's a lot of good stuff in it. Again,
Yes.
George Sanders, great. I think a lot of the performers are very, charismatic.
I mean, like in like a flat, like old Hollywood sense of like what a charming fellow that we've just seen on the television screen.
Yes. But I don't know. Overall, I just was like, yeah, okay.
I think I've finally come to like a point with Hitchcock. I think and this is actually less in regards to this movie, but like it kind of comes in like we term him the master of suspense.
Yes.
And like I remember like it was like I was like reading on like I was reading like traits of Hitchcock. And I remember at one point I stumbled upon the obituary the New York Times wrote for him.
Okay.
And they talked about like how he could make the mundane seem stunning and make like ordinary movies seem like they have like a pounding anxiety to them.
Okay.
I remember thinking like, oh, I get it. This is all artifice.
Uh-huh.
There is nothing natural about a Hitchcock film. It is all construction on top of construction to make you feel as if you are watching some like some great anxious work. But like he's not really doing that through dialogue necessarily.
Right.
Not really doing that through characters. Certainly, it is like dragging us along by the threads of the plot and editing it to get. It's kind of proto mystery box in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think like. That's just not and for me as someone like who craves like organic cinema and like that's really that's just not very satisfying.
Well, I mean, I think Hitchcock is one of those directors who people tend to, I think, label as an auteur sometimes, and I guess maybe he was like the classical Hollywood version of an auteur in that like
the people who wrote about the auteur theory loved Hitchcock.
Yeah, and in that he had a style that he developed. It's not super apparent in
but
this
not
movie
really a visual style.
Not a visual style, but I think if you look at like his movies, they share like a similar kind of similar ideas, similar like kind of like elements that I guess in that sense he's not an auteur in the way that we look at it now.
Like a classical writer director.
Right, he's not a writer director like control over the story and the visuals kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the material was there, like it is in, say, Psycho,
or even Rear Window
to some extent, he could take that material and like
elevate it,
put it through, his kind of stylistic spin and elevate it a little bit and make it at least an interesting experience.
Yes.
And then other times, I mean, people love Vertigo. I just don't get it.
Vertigo is a pretty piece of nothing.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the thing. Like, Vertigo, I think the script is not there.
No.
But he makes it at least watchable because of, his staging and the way he shoots some of those sequences and, like, some, like, kind of ideas about, like, the construction and, like, obsession and, like, voyeurs and, like, how that relates to cinema itself.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, like, Hitchcock appears to be, like, a really interesting guy trapped in the bland Hollywood system.
Yes.
And I think...
If he had been around for the, like, independent, like, auteur-driven, like movies of the 70s...
late 60s and 70s.
If he had started his career then, he might have been, like, one of the all-time great, like, just auteurs.
Yeah, like we'd probably be speaking in the same way you talk about like Scorsese.
At least in our view. Like clearly Hitchcock is not struggling for respect among most film buffs.
I have noticed this, like, there are very few people who regard like, oh, my favorite director, Alfred Hitchcock.
Right.
That's like a very I've never heard that before, but I'm granted we're probably gonna get like none of our viewers to come and comment and say, my favorite director is Alfred Hitchcock.
If anyone is out there who just adores Alfred Hitchcock, please, for the love of God, tell us what we're missing.
Yeah, because that's it. Like, we can never be like, oh, Alfred Hitchcock, you bad filmmaker. We're always
we're not writing him off.
No,
because like I said, I love Psycho. I like Rear Window quite a bit. I enjoy the 39 Steps. I enjoyed The Lady Vanishes. I enjoy a lot of his movies, but I just, in terms of just putting him in the all-time pantheon, I'd put him, like, on the level of, like, God, I don't know, like, William Wyler, maybe? Or, like, Michael Curtiz, who did Casablanca. Like, making really interesting stuff within... You know who he is? He's the older-time Christopher Nolan, if Christopher Nolan was a slightly
Yeah.
more stylistic filmmaker.
Yeah, maybe.
He works well within the studio system to make some interesting movies, but overall...
He rarely transcends it.
Yes.
Like, he's just not a very transcendent filmmaker.
Yeah,
I guess
you know, I bet, like, if anyone, I'm sure there are people out there who will listen to us, like, say, Alfred Hitchcock and Christopher Nolan are on the same level, and just be like, you fuckers don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I'm sorry, but that's the way I
guess I kind of see him in, like, the same way I view, like, the really early silent filmmaker.
Okay, sure.
In something like maybe like this is kind of a can of worms just saying this name, but like a D.W. Griffith, where it's like there's lots of innovations and lots of like new things being brought to cinema, but it's not quite all there yet.
Yeah.
And to me, I find like maybe like the first truly transcendent movie is when truly transcendent movies when we get to German Expressionism. But I don't know, man. Like. We are getting somewhere. I think we finally hit upon something here.
Yeah. So we don't love Hitchcock.
We don't hate him either.
We don't hate him. We respect him.
Yeah. I suppose we admire him
a little, somewhat. We're not putting. We prefer Scorsese. We knew that going into this, but. Yeah. I think it's been interesting to kind of look at Hitchcock and see what we can kind of dig out of some of his earlier movies. I think this was a worthwhile exercise.
Yes, I think we've expanded upon our most problematic aspects of the show.
Sure.
Regardless.
All that said, what do we want to do next week?
What do we want to do next week?
I know you had suggested another Carol Reed episode. Do we want to do that now?
We could.
Do we want to do our Korean cinema episode?
Korean. So what we do, Old Boy and Snowpiercer, is what we do for Korea?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds good.
I'd be all for that.
Reed, what would you prefer?
Maybe Carol Reed, but and then do the Korean episode next week.
So you want to do Carol Reed now?
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. I can do that. All right. So, like, do we want to do Oliver, the movie?
I don't think so. That movie's 2.5 hours long.
Jesus.
I think we would do kind of his two other collaborations with Graham Greene.
Yeah, we could try that.
One is called The Fallen Idol, and then the other one is Our Man in Havana.
Yeah, both of those sound utterly fascinating.
All right.
Okay.
So The Man in Havana and...
Our Man in Havana.
Our Man in Havana.
And The Fallen Idol.
Oh, boy.
Sounds great.
We're getting somewhere.
Yes.
All right.
Ooh.
More Carol
I'm
Reed
excited.
coming your way. Followed maybe by Korean cinema and then Satoshi Kon at some point.
Whenever we can get Warner in here.
Yes. And then
When are we launching into Summer of International Filmmakers?
Well, I don't know. At some point,
maybe when actual summer starts.
Probably within the next several weeks. I've got a lot of stuff I kind of want to knock out. I'm not going to be as like hard and fast with this as I was with Summer of Filmmakers. We can just kind of ease into it. We'll go like as long as we want to, and then I don't think we've teased this. Our upcoming summer series is going to be the Summer of European Filmmakers. Mm-hmm. We're going to be looking at filmmakers from across the European continent. We'll be looking at Tarkovsky, Kieslowski, Mike Lee, Louis Malle, just to name a few. I've got a list going.
More Fassbinder.
Yes. Some Werner Herzog, perhaps.
Oh, boy.
I'm dreading that just a little bit, but we'll see what happens.
I'm looking forward to Herzog.
And then maybe also some Turkish-German films from Fatih Akin.
Oh, yes. We still need to do those.
You're really pushing hard for those.
Yeah.
Also, I think Tarkovsky is especially apt because a new restoration of his film Stalker just came out.
I've always been interested in seeing Stalker.
I'm into that. We'd probably also see Solaris. Maybe. I'm a little...
Aren't those really fucking long?
Yeah, they're long. I don't know. I'll see what else I can dig out with that. But we'll see. Anyway, Summer of Europa, as we're terming it, is coming up. Look for that. But first, more Carol Reed. It's kind of an early tease for that, I guess.
Yes, I suppose. He is
Carol Reed's movies tend to be very European.
our language, but a different context.
Sure. Yes. All right. I almost said Odd Man Out, but we already did that. The Fallen Idol and Our Man in Havana coming your way. Look for that. Goodbye, everyone.
Godspeed, friends. Like, especially like when the ah!
Oops, I forgot about that.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry.